You've seen it happen, maybe without understanding why. The moment you stop chasing, women treat you differently. Not louder, not dramatic, just different. And that difference isn't about ignoring them. It's about what turns off inside you when you no longer need a response. Most men think women respect indifference. They don't. They respect the emotional control beneath it, the absence of urgency, the lack of explanation, the calm refusal to perform. When you stop chasing, you're not withdrawing from her. You're withdrawing from the need to be seen. And that shift is instinctively felt. This is why two men can do the same thing, say less, text less, explain less, and only one is respected. One is acting, the other is regulated. Women don't respond to behavior, they respond to state. If this already reframes how you see attraction, take a second to like, subscribe, or leave a comment. It helps this message reach men who are tired of chasing clarity and ready for control. But stay with me. Because once you understand why stopping the chase changes perception, and what's actually happening in the female mind, you'll never mistake attention for power again. You move through the world now with a different rhythm, not rushed, not delayed, measured. Your steps don't seek alignment, they assume it. Conversations don't pull at you anymore, they orbit. You notice it first in the pauses. The way silence stretches without collapsing. The way your presence holds its shape even when nothing is said. There was a time you filled space instinctively. You mistook motion for momentum. You believed clarity was earned by explanation, that connection required effort, that being understood was the same as being respected. So you leaned forward, emotionally, mentally, always a fraction ahead of yourself. That fraction was visible. It always is. Now something has settled, not numbness, not distance. A quiet consolidation. You feel it in your chest before you see it in their eyes. Your breath stays low. Your voice doesn't climb when challenged. You don't hurry to correct a misunderstanding. You let it sit. And in that stillness, the balance shifts. Picture a room at dusk. Light fades evenly. The man who fidgets becomes louder as the shadows grow. The composed man becomes clearer. You are learning to be the latter, not by force, but by subtraction. Less reassurance, less anticipation, less need to be chosen. What remains is wait. You notice reactions arrive unannounced. A look held half a second longer. A question asked twice, a recalibration. It's subtle, the way gravity is subtle until you jump. Nothing about you announces demand. Nothing about you seeks confirmation. That absence does the work. There's a parable you never heard but always lived. Two sentinels guard a gate. One calls out to every passerby, explaining his purpose, listing his rules. The other stands still, eyes forward, unmoved by traffic or praise. When a storm comes, people gather behind the silent one. Not because he promised safety, but because he never begged for belief. This is the reversal most men miss. The more you chase certainty, the more uncertain you appear. The more you chase response, the more you reveal dependence. When you stop, when you let the unanswered remain unanswered, perception reorganizes itself around you, not admiration, orientation. Time begins to loop differently. You see past moments with new clarity. The text you sent too quickly, the justification offered too soon, the apology that arrived before the accusation. You don't condemn those versions of yourself. You recognize them. They were trying to secure ground that can only be held by standing still. Now when tension enters the frame, you don't rush to smooth it. You allow it to exist. You let the other person feel it. This is not cruelty, it's honesty. And honesty, when carried without agitation, has an authority no performance can replicate. Watch how influence operates when it's no longer chased. You don't persuade, you position. You don't announce boundaries. You inhabit them. Others sense the perimeter before you speak, especially those attuned to emotional weather, especially women who have learned through experience to read what is not said. You begin to understand that attraction is not sparked by pursuit, but by coherence, a nervous system at rest. A man who doesn't need the moment to resolve itself in his favor. A presence that doesn't lean, that doesn't bargain, that doesn't rush the ending. At first, this restraint feels unnatural. Your instincts protest. Silence feels like loss. Waiting feels like weakness. You feel the old impulse rise, to check, to clarify, to secure. And this is where the transformation actually happens. Not when things are calm, but when discomfort knocks and you don't answer it. Each time you resist the urge to chase, something rewires. Your body learns that nothing collapses when you don't intervene. Your mind learns that uncertainty doesn't have to be conquered. It can be held. And what you can hold, you no longer fear. Others feel this before they understand it. They sense that you are no longer trying to extract an outcome, that you are present without needing resolution, that you are willing to let moments end without tying a ribbon around them. This creates a quiet asymmetry. You are comfortable where others become restless, and restlessness always reveals itself. You see it in the subtle bids for attention, the emotional probing disguised as casual questions, the shift in tone when your calm doesn't bend. You don't respond differently, you respond the same. And sameness, when it's grounded, becomes unpredictable. This is the paradox. Predictability of state creates unpredictability of outcome. Because when you are no longer driven by reaction, others cannot place you. They adjust, they lean, they reveal. You are not withholding. You are complete. This is the Stoic journey few complete, not because it is complex, but because it is quiet. There is no applause for restraint, no immediate reward for patience, only a gradual reordering of how the world meets you. And once you feel that reordering, you cannot unfeel it. Don't move yet. Because in the next part, you'll see the deeper mechanism at work, the internal switch that turns restraint into authority, and why once it flips, you never go back. The shift deepens when you realize this composure isn't something you do, it's something you stop interrupting. Authority doesn't arrive with effort, it arrives when effort withdraws. You feel it most clearly in moments designed to provoke you. A delayed reply, an ambiguous look, a silence that invites interpretation. Where you once filled the gap, you now let it breathe. You begin to sense the machinery underneath human interaction, not as theory, but as timing. You see how urgency leaks information, how eagerness collapses leverage, how the man who steadies his pulse controls the frame without declaring control. You are no longer impressed by clever words. You watch posture, pace, the micro hesitations that betray need. There's a scene that repeats itself in different forms. You're standing across from someone who expects reaction. Maybe it's a challenge, maybe it's charm, maybe it's a subtle test wrapped in humor. You feel the old reflex stir, to respond quickly, to clarify intent, to show warmth. Instead, you stay exactly where you are. You answer when it's time, not before, not after. The room recalibrates. This is where power reverses, not dramatically, but decisively. The one seeking outcome begins to move around the one who doesn't. Attention shifts upstream. Questions come softer. Tone adjusts. It's not respect demanded. It's respect inferred. You start to understand that influence is less about presence and more about absence at the right moments. The absence of explanation. The absence of emotional spillage. The absence of hurry. These absences create pressure, not on you, but on others to fill the space. And what people fill space with is truth. Women, especially, notice this before they can name it. Not consciously, instinctively. They feel the difference between a man who withholds as strategy and a man who withholds, because there is nothing missing inside him. One feels manipulative, the other feels anchored. The body knows the difference even when the mind cannot articulate it. You don't change your behavior to create this effect. You change your relationship with uncertainty. You stop treating it like a problem. You let conversations end unresolved. You let impressions remain unfinished. You allow curiosity to exist without feeding it. This is not disinterest. It's self-trust. A memory surfaces, times you chased clarity, because ambiguity felt like rejection. You see now that ambiguity was never the threat. Your reaction to it was. You were trying to control perception because you didn't yet control yourself. That control comes later, and it comes quietly. Now when attraction flickers, you don't rush to define it. You don't label. You don't secure. You let it hover. And hovering creates weight. Gravity does the rest. This is where Machiavellian realism reveals itself, not as manipulation, but as restraint aligned with reality. You stop trying to force outcomes that must ripen. You stop correcting misinterpretations that serve you. You stop volunteering information that weakens your position. You are not hiding. You are unavailable to extraction. Notice how this affects your inner landscape. Anxiety loses its leverage. Anticipation softens. You become less invested in winning moments and more invested in holding your line. The line is invisible, but it's felt. Others sense it like a boundary without a fence. There's a temporal loop you enter. The future no longer pulls you forward with promise or threat. The past no longer tugs you backward with regret. You operate in a narrower, denser present. This density is what people feel as presence. It's why your words land heavier even when you say less. You watch conversations slow down around you. People choose their words more carefully. Not because you intimidate, but because you don't rush them. You grant space, and space exposes intention. This is the quiet advantage of emotional containment. It invites revelation without asking for it. You're not immune to desire. You simply don't let desire drive. You don't negotiate with it in public. You feel it privately and decide later. That delay between impulse and action is where authority lives. Most men never develop it. They confuse intensity with depth. You no longer do. At some point, you notice something unsettling. You're no longer trying to be impressive. And yet, impressions deepen. You're no longer chasing resonance. And yet, resonance arrives. This is the moment you realize power was never about pursuit. It was about self-possession. Hold here. Because the final layer is not about how others respond, but about what happens to you once this state becomes permanent, and why stepping back into the old way becomes impossible. Once this state settles in, something irreversible happens. You stop negotiating with yourself. The internal debate, the constant weighing of how you're perceived, falls silent. Not because you've won it, but because it no longer serves a function. You are no longer organizing your behavior around reaction. You are organizing it around alignment. You feel the cost first. Fewer moments of artificial closeness, fewer rapid sparks, fewer highs manufactured by attention. What replaces them is heavier, slower, more durable. You begin to value interactions that survive silence, connections that don't require maintenance, respect that doesn't ask to be reassured. This is where most men turn back. The quiet can feel like loss if you're addicted to noise. But you stay. You notice that nothing essential disappears. What fades was never stable to begin with. What remains has structure. You start choosing differently, not strategically, but naturally. You leave situations earlier. You speak when there's something to add, not something to protect. You let people misunderstand you if clarification would cheapen the moment. This isn't detachment from others. It's attachment to your center. Women sense this permanence. Not as mystery, but as finality. You're no longer testing. You're no longer auditioning. You're not adjusting your shape to fit the room. You enter as you are, and the room adjusts if it needs to. If it doesn't, you leave unchanged. There's a calm that comes with this. A composure that doesn't spike when desired and doesn't collapse when ignored. You stop counting responses. You stop reading between lines. You hear what's said, notice what's done, and let the rest pass without commentary. Your attention becomes selective, and what you attend to grows quieter, not louder. You realize now why attention was never power. Attention is currency, and currency is spent. Presence is capital. It compounds when left untouched. The final transformation isn't how others treat you. It's how little that treatment governs you. Approval no longer lifts you. Disinterest no longer destabilizes you. You move forward with the same cadence regardless of outcome. That consistency becomes unmistakable. This is what self-command looks like when it's lived, not claimed. No slogans, no performance. Just a man whose internal state no longer leaks into the world asking to be managed. And once you reach this point, you don't go back, not because you're disciplined, but because there's nothing to return to. The chase feels foreign. The noise feels exposed. The old urgency feels like a story you once believed but can no longer inhabit. You stand where you are, grounded, unmoved, complete. That's the difference they feel. And it starts and ends inside you.